Welcome back to the channel, welcome back Explorers. My name's Jack and today we're going to be doing some more NASCAR. I'm still relatively new to it and I've done a few videos on it now, but I haven't been catching up with loads of the races as they're usually on at weird times in the UK. But I am very intrigued by SVG, Shane van Gisbergen, and I didn't know he was like a debutant of the NASCAR world. So we're going to be watching the greatest NASCAR debut in modern history, SVG. It's going to be more of a learning one for me, so I may not talk too much. There may be some pausing and all that sort of stuff. There may not be any at all. It may just be a long one where we all just watch together. Apologies if the mic and all the sound's a bit crazy. It's a new setup and I'm still dialing it in. And if you are new around here and you like what you see, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. It lets YouTube know they're putting something on that you like, obviously. And if you're old around here, welcome back Explorers. Some more NASCAR, this time a little bit of learning as usual. And without further ado, let's get into it, shall we?
In March 2023, the Circuit of the Americas played host to the NASCAR Cup Series. 39 drivers competing for the dub and a berth on victory lane. Though they weren't all the usual suspects, for there were two Formula One world champions competing that weekend. One of them was Jenson Button, who did well enough to...
Jenson Button and Kimi Räikkönen, I believe, are the ones that are still in NASCAR at the moment. Oh, that's...
By not being bestowed with the greatest of great material, and a couple of positions further up the field was the other world champion, and the number 91 Chevrolet Camaro, Kimi Räikkönen. Kimi was there courtesy of the Project 91 campaign, which was aimed at luring international talent to the series, expanding the profile of NASCAR, and proving to the elite drivers of the world that there was more to stock car racing than just turning left and punching Joey Logano. Kimi withheld the urge to do
Honestly, that's something that is a big shock factor to me very quickly. The running joke in Europe is, oh, they just turn left. But there's so much more to it, and I'm glad that Kimi Räikkönen, one of the greatest Formula One racers of all time, rally drive, anything with wheels, he's been in it probably. For him to be trying to bring talent to it, it just goes to show that there is a real, and it's often overlooked, the real skill involved in being a NASCAR driver.
That, and instead put on a decent enough showing that day in Austin for Justin Marks, the owner of Trackhouse Racing, who the Project 91 campaign runs under. This was just the start. He wanted to bring in the best of the best from around the world. But obviously, NASCAR Cup cars are a long way away from a Formula One car. I mean, it's like comparing Usain Bolt to Roger Ebert. So the next time Project 91 would roll,
that's a bit unfair.
Kimi Räikkönen would not be behind the wheel. Instead, they recruited someone else.
It's not though, really, is it, when you think about the weight differences in a Formula One vehicle and a NASCAR vehicle? Very, very, very opposite ends of the scale. But, oh wow, I didn't know that this was all through this. This is incredible.
Entirely. Over in the Supercars series in Australia,
isn't SVG
was looking set for victory?
Isn't
his rearview mirrors?
Isn't he from New Zealand?
Truly horrifying sight.
Oh, he is on your arse.
Being hounded by the Red Bull Camaro, his championship rival, and right now, his worst enemy. After some convincing, he sailed by to take the win. His third win of the year. It would have been his fourth had someone not left too much ice in his car in the opening race in Newcastle. But either way, over in this part of the world, the sight of this man winning races was just way too freaking common. It was kind of a procession. He would be a little bit mid in qualifying to give you some hope. Then he would opt for a, shall we say, interesting tyre strategy to give you even more hope. But then in the dying laps, he would shatter everyone's dreams, scythe on through, and take his inevitable win. Just the year prior, he won 21 out of 34 races.
Whoa, that is
insane one, given how competitive this tax.
Hold on. Again. 21 out of 34 in racing is phenomenal. I've got to get through this.
Series is. And of course, he's from New Zealand, not a part of Australia. And yes, we are a real country, and yes, this accent is real too. I'm sorry. Anybody that knows anything about motorsport knows that this dude can win in almost anything. GT cars, no problem. Sprint cars, sure.
Yeah,
rally cars,
anything.
yeah, that too. Open wheelers, what do you think? Drifting? Yeah, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Put him in anything and he will make it dance. I can yak on for ages about the stuff that this guy has done, but the crucial thing that you need to know at this juncture is that to drive, supercars were the closest thing to a cup car, at least at that high level. So picking the creme de la creme of the field to try out these monsters was the logical thing to do, I think, and Justin Marks knew this too. On the 18th of May 2023, it was announced that Trackhouse would use the Project 91 entry to give a NASCAR Cup Series debut to Shane Van Gisbergen, or as some of the more obtuse Americans called him,
whatever his name is, SVG? Van Burger, I don't know, hamburger.
Yes, so Shane Van Hamburger.
Oh, that isn't very nice, is it, good sir? It's his name. Why are you taking a piss? He couldn't choose it. That's not okay. I'm there's just so much. I don't want to keep pausing, but it's a 20-minute video, and there's just so much already that it's insane.
Would be getting his debut in NASCAR. For some people in this part of the world, this was a long time coming. Almost an inevitability if that doesn't sound way too pretentious. But of course, this was just a one-off event. Project 91 had only been run twice previously, and both times by Kimi Räikkönen. This really was a once-in-a-blue-moon affair, and right from the start, Marks and the team at Trackhouse knew exactly where to make it happen.
Oh my, this Chicago. Oh, the street race.
For the first time in the history of NASCAR.
That was his debut. What?
On city streets. I know. The sophisticated racers over in Europe had been racing on streets since, well, film existed. But hey, late bloomer or not, at least these guys got the ball rolling at long last. The track started on South Columbus Drive before hanging a left onto East Balbo, then right onto South Lakeshore, where the bumps and the kink in the road could unsettle anybody who got a little bit too romantic with the throw.
It was a real fun street course.
Right-hander that took the cars back onto South Columbus, down onto the longest straight on the circuit, before reaching pretty much the exact point of turn 1, when they would turn left and go back on to East Balbo, effectively giving the track a mirror image effect. Then the track would squiggle around some more, running over every bump the fine folks of Chicago could muster, then onto East Jackson Drive before turning right again and onto the front straight.
That's a fun, fast little track.
It seems an easy track, but considering there wasn't much in the way of runoffs, and no one had any data of this track apart from a laser scan version on iRacing, the teams and drivers were heading into this weekend blind.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
well, almost.
Not fun.
Very few of those drivers had ever driven on a street course before. None of them, really, in a racing car quite like this. Well, almost none of them. See, that's
except SVG.
Where almost half the tracks they travel to are street courses. Shane Van Gisbergen, or SVG, or the Giz for those linguistically challenged, was used to this type of environment. This would have played right into his hands, and he did have some time testing the car in the days leading up to the race, with extensive preparation at Trackhouse. But then again, it shouldn't have been a walk in the park. Regardless of the inexperience on street courses, the drivers of the Cup Series was still good. Really damn good. Don't let the stereotype of rednecks running around in circles fool.
Oh yeah.
All these drivers can pedal a car, and a few of them are lethal on road courses even by the highest standards, and they have to be.
See, that's as I said, the stupid misconception of NASCAR drivers is that they're just rednecks driving left, and they are so much more than that. It's incredible. I didn't know I genuinely didn't know he was a rookie this year, kind of thing, and they're like. Räikkönen clearly seems to be all in on him. The 91 team seem all... This is really good.
Given how there have been more and more road courses added to the schedule in the recent years. I mean, for reference here, look at the likes of Jenson Button, Kimi Räikkönen, and Daniel Kvyat coming over to the series in the last couple of years.
Exactly.
They didn't win anything, so even with SVG's extensive experience on street courses, there was no...
It's not promised, yeah.
Or even break the top 10. I know, it kinda sounds far-fetched in hindsight, but my point remains. Those NASCAR Cup drivers are no joke. And so, on Saturday afternoon, practice got underway for the Grand Park 220, when the checkered flag had
boy, they
and
took
the
off.
were posted. The whole of the field in unison proclaimed, "Oh, Van Gisbergen was leading the way by 3/10 over Denny Hamlin.
Wow.
He was hit the ground running.
Wow.
Exactly what he needed to do. And now, all eyes were on him, heading into qualifying. Onlookers were overawed by his ability to hang it close to the walls, and the island brush dance he performed on the pedals under brakes. All of this translated into speed, and that in turn
Was that
translated
two-footed
to
braking?
third on the grid. By the time qualifying was done, some would have been a little bit gutted by this.
Oh, come on, not pole position?
And yeah, with the speed he had shown this...
Sorry. I in my first ever outing as a NASCAR driver to be third on grid, I'm bloody happy with that.
Was a slight letdown. For others down the grid though, it gave them a little bit of hope, but those that were all too familiar with his winning ways, far from concerned. We all kind of went,
Oh, shit.
race day came, and so did the rain. You know what they say in Chicago, you don't like the weather? Wait an hour. And that's pretty much what NASCAR did. The race was delayed by an hour, but eventually the flood passed and now they went racing. Immediately, the wet weather conditions were catching people out. Pole sitter Denny Hamlin went off into the tyre barriers. Eric Jones pulled off a 3-in-1 combo that included his teammate, although, as we'll see later, he doesn't need much help when it comes to finding the tyre barriers. And Kyle Busch lodged his Camaro so far into the tyre barriers that it took King Arthur to dig him out again. He brought out the pace car only a couple of laps into the race. Where was SVG in all of this? He was still in third, but now behind Christopher Bell and Tyler Reddick. He kept a watching brief as Reddick and Bell fought over the lead, for those two could sense that they had a little bit of hope to take the dub that day. Their cars were going well, and they were driving well. A few laps later, someone who was not driving well, maybe having run out of drivers to fight, Noah Gragson slammed into the wall as well, and brought out the pace car. Wouldn't be the last time we see that today. At the end of stage 1, Bell still led, and Van Gisbergen was still in.
Yeah, that's the one thing I will take away from the Chicago street race. It was very, as fun as it was, and a fun little course, and there was a lot of incidents.
Third. Jensen Button, meanwhile, was facing the wrong way, courtesy of an unhelping hand by Chris Buescher.
Poor guy just wanted to pit, damn it.
By this stage, most people were beginning to pit for slick tyres, despite half the track still being underwater. Although wet tyres, slick tyres, whatever he was on, Noah Gragson knew that practice makes perfect, and slammed into the same place in the same tyre barrier again and brought out the pace car.
Again!
I can't say that this guy's race has been terribly great so far, or even his whole cup career. Then again,
Not
Shane
good.
Van Gisbergen's restart wasn't great either, completely asleep, and fell behind Reddick, and
It
then behind
happens.
Carl Larson, then behind Daniel Suarez.
It happens.
Unbeknownst to a lot of people watching, he felt that he had no grip, owing to low pressures in his tyres. And then the comms stopped working, or at least stopped working properly.
Oh
Also,
my.
Truthfully, he was finding out real fast that these dudes can
drive.
good,
Yeah, they
both left
can.
and right. His drowning was stopped momentarily when Alex Bowman brought out 2 cautions, one for being punted into the Shadow Realm, and another for his engine developing a case of
The fire.
So,
Yeah.
heading into stage 3, Shane Van Gisbergen had stagnated in third, couldn't really keep pace with the leaders, and then got thrown down the order like a kid who got picked off for lunch money. Exactly how is this meant to be the greatest NASCAR debut in modern history? Well, there was still a long way to go in this race, and hey, if your hang-up is that he's only running third in the top tier of NASCAR in his debut, your standards may be a bit too high, and I doubt that's the first time you've heard that today.
I'm not gonna lie, I was bloody pleased hearing him get third.
Hey, I mean, after all, you did click on this video. And besides, there was still plenty of time for him to prove his worth with 50 laps to go.
That's a lot of race.
Half that. 25 laps to go. Thanks to that rain delay at the start, the Windy City was soon to be shrouded in darkness. And thus, NASCAR shortened the race to make sure that drivers were not going to be running around in the pitch black. Either that, or they wanted to cull the race before Noah Gragson had a chance to crash again. Although I'm not sure why they would need that, because after all,
Race cars don't need headlights because the track is always lit.
you know what you get on this channel. With 25 laps to go,
Oh, I hate
the race
it.
got back underway. Except, not in the order you might be expecting, because Shane Van Gisbergen did make a pit stop, along with the other leaders, under that pace car. But not everybody did, with some banking on a shortened race, on old tyres. That left a mad jump of grip on the restart, with Justin Haley leading the way. Where was Van Gisbergen? He was in 18th. With such a limited amount of laps left and a lot of ground to make up, SVG began making moves. And now it was like, oh, here we go. In one corner, he passed 8 cars. Although I will admit there were reasons behind that, so take them however you can. Except, thanks to NASCAR rulings, after the caution was thrown, all those cars in the makeshift downtown Chicago parking lot got their spots back for the restart.
Oh,
so SVG
what?
was thrown back down to 18th with even less laps remaining. He was going to need a little bit of luck. Some drivers ahead of him crashing would do the trick. Gragson crashed again.
What a surprise.
Nah. SVG was going to need some...
Oh my god, it's that dude, the guy that got punched. Oh, I thought it was. I thought it was.
Someone more important to crash. Bell was left stranded on the side of the road after neglecting to brake for turn 1. Throwing down the order, it left one less car for SPG to pass. Make that 2 actually, since Tyler Reddick, the man running ahead of the Giz for most of the race, buried himself into the turn 6 tyre wall.
Oh, that's
with
frustrating.
20 laps to go. I happened to glance at the leaderboard out of curiosity to see where Shane was at this point. He was in 8th. He passed 10 cars in a little under 6 laps. That is a sufficient amount. And if he could maintain this high-octane math until the end of the race, well, I don't really need to spell it out for you, don't I? 15 laps to go and the race restarts. Shane begins making moves immediately. Austin Dillon, perhaps sensing the impending wave of doom looming large, starts pushing Haley for position.
Makes sense. And then crashes. Yep.
Yeah, he pushed too much.
Ah, dear.
We avoided a caution, and now it was Haley leading, Chase Elliott 2nd, Kyle Busch 3rd, Logano 4th, and Shane Van Gisbergen in 5th.
That's an impressive run.
4th. Make that 3rd. Yeah, you're all cooked now. There
What?
really didn't seem to be much hope for them. Shane Van Gisbergen was closing at such a rate of knots that it seemed like an inevitability at this point. He was running over a second a lap faster. 9 to go.
Wow.
Elliott's rearview mirrors showed him a truly horrifying sight.
Yeah, no thank you.
He was being hounded by the enhanced health Camaro. Not for long though. Up to 2nd. He's all over the back of Haley. Down to turn 7. Down the inside.
And
For the
goodbye.
308th billionth time today, the pace car was out after Martin Truex Jr.'s front brake rotors went on strike and left the 2017 champion to fend for himself. And Haley would get back his lead.
That's
Saved by the bell there. With 5 laps remaining, Shane just had to remain calm. Ish. Plenty of time
But drive
to take
aggressive,
the lead,
yeah.
but also plenty of time to mess it up. These Cup drivers are feisty on the restarts. There is a lot on the line for these drivers other than just pride, and they definitely don't want some dude to just walk in and steal their thunder. Unlike Valtteri Bottas, they will actually fight for their position. The restart. Turn 2. Down the inside. To the lead. For about 4 seconds. Haley kept him honest, ultra aggressive, and by the kink, he was back into the lead.
Shane
saw that coming, performed the switchback.
Go
and he
back
took the lead.
inside.
From there, it was goodbye. All of what we just saw there, that was proper racing.
Yeah, it
Something
was.
almost completely alien in Formula 1 nowadays. Yes, I may be disgustingly biased toward my fellow countrymen here, but this sort of stuff is the stuff that us racing fans live for. Jousting for the lead, for the win.
Yes, clean overtakes, fun races, neck and neck. That Formula 1 has become very 2-horse race-ish in that sense.
For eternal glory. Although, for Justin Haley, however awesome he was in leading for as long as he did, and it was a good drive, there was just no way he was going to claw back Van Gisbergen now. Not unless there was another caution. Luckily for him, that's exactly what he would get after Bubba Wallace sent a McDive bomb down into turn 1.
What a
The race
surprise.
is going to overtime. The sun was setting on Chicago, and streetlights were beginning to dawn the racetrack. The first street race in NASCAR Cup history. You would have to call it an overall success. Some great wheel-to-wheel, bumper-to-bumper
Would
action
ya?
for Shane. At that moment, might have been a little bit at peace with himself. He had already made an impression. To come in and perform like he's done now. Whatever happens now, no one will forget that. And for Justin Marks, the Project 91 campaign was justified. It had served its purpose in a big way.
Yeah.
It wasn't over yet though. He still did have to hold off Justin Haley and Chase Elliott, both of whom are desperate for
And
a
they are
race here, and
phenomenal
both of them
drivers.
are certainly worthy of one.
Yeah.
The race restarted and nothing happened. He charged away, not looking in the slightest bit phased, and after 2 laps, Shane Van Gisbergen crossed the line to win the Grant Park
Incredible.
220, the first New Zealander
Incredible.
to win in the Cup Series.
Yeah, let's go.
The first Supercars graduate to win since Marcus Ambrose, and the first driver to win on debut since Johnny Rutherford in 1963.
Wow.
So how the hell did SPG win on debut in a series so competitive? Well, there were a variety of factors. First off, his experience. Yes, that does sound a bit of an oxymoron given it was his debut. It's a bit like those job listings where they ask for 3 years experience in a junior position.
Like, yeah, sure. Let me just get in my time machine real
quick.
Yeah.
All the drivers in the field, his experience on street circuits trumped them all. After all, about half the circuits he races on in a year are street circuits.
Number
He
2.
knew just how close he could run to the walls, and in cars like this. Because ultimately, these next-gen cup cars are
Exactly.
not far off of what a modern-day V8 supercar is. Gone are the 4-speed H patterns, and in are the 5-speed sequentials. Independent rear suspension has come into play too. Very similar to what Shane is used to back in the land of kangaroos and AU Falcons. Having said that, there were a lot of differences that he had to get used to, so there is a bit of evening out to do there. Third reason behind his success? The team. Trackhouse are a good team. We have seen their successes with Danny Suarez and Ross Chastain. It is a good outfit that can win races and ride walls. So Shane had the material under him, but the fourth and perhaps biggest reason behind his success? Him. Now, after the race was done, drivers like Kyle Larson were worried that SVG was going to go back to Australia and proclaim how easy it was to win, and about how all the drivers in America suck, and that NASCAR is full of hicks and blah 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 blah. Well, this business of SVG making everyone look stupid is not a new thing. He does the exact same thing in the supercar series. He's just that damn good at driving anything he's ever given. Are there any other supercars drivers that could do the same? I mean... Grapple. We've seen drivers from all across the world try their hand here. Very few find success, and you would imagine that with more miles to come, that Shane Van Gisbergen can only get better. A lot of people out there question whether he could repeat these efforts again, or even be half as good on an oval. Some say even that it would be impossible. I mean, no doubt adjusting full time will take time. But
Yeah.
impossible? Really? With what we've seen from this guy over the
Yeah,
years,
yeah.
his adaptability,
Yeah.
his versatility, is that really a question that you want answered? I don't know. Or maybe I've just jinxed him in a violent way. We've already had a glimpse into what he could do, and whatever happens from this day on, he'll always have this, the greatest debut
Exactly.
in modern
That's
NASCAR
that's
history.
pretty incredible. All right. If you are still here, go and subscribe to Josh Revel. He's the one that did the video there. I tell you what, I didn't talk very much through that because, let's be honest, it was a learning video, and I am one of those ignorant Europeans that used to just think it was turning left until I learnt about the sport. Many years ago I learnt it was more than just turning left, but like growing my love of it now, there's so much more to it than people ever seem to realise unless they're brought up around the sport, and it's crazy. He has truly been good in every car sport that he has attempted. So why not be good at this, you know? I didn't know he was... Maybe that just flew over my head, but incredible. If you enjoyed this, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. Let me know what to watch next. Other than that, have a great day, be well, and bye-bye.